For decades, teams of scientists and researchers of many backgrounds have been studying what one could call the pyramidal effect, a measurable disturbance in the energy field surrounding a pyramidal structure. Some researchers have concluded that the shape of the pyramid causes the surrounding subtle energies to resonate with the frequency of the Earth's magnetic field, creating an amplified field of energy around the pyramid with healing properties for all within it. 3,000 years ago, the Chinese called this healing energy qi, and the Hindus called it prana. In the 19th century, Helena Blavatsky called it astral light, and Wilhelm Reich called it orgone. Today, many people call this quantum energy, an energy which is said to be the source of all physical matter that exists, a subtle energy that appears to amass in the space of a pyramid structure. Researchers have observed accelerated plant growth within simple pyramid-shaped structures. People have used this energy for food preservation by storing perishables in a pyramidal structure, which has been shown to slow down food spoilage. Studies have shown that housing rats in a pyramid reduced oxidative stress. Scientist and former defense contractor Alexander Golod has been studying this pyramidal effect. He held an experiment where prisoners were fed pyramid-treated table salt, which reportedly resulted in a significant decrease of violence. And he has built several pyramids in Russia for people to sit inside of and experience the effects. Russian and German physicists learned that the pyramid's dimensions, its inner chambers, and the limestone substrate it sits upon scatters the surrounding electromagnetic energy, concentrates it within the inner chambers, and forces them into the ground beneath. It has been found that a pyramidal shape can cause quantum dots to emit polarized light, which is light that vibrates in only one direction. Standing over 220 meters high, the Pyramid of the Sun in Bosnia is the tallest pyramid in the world. It has the typical pyramid geometry and is coated by rectangular blocks of concrete, superior to modern concrete, and made of the local clay. In 2010, physicists were able to measure a constant beam of energy shooting up through the top of the pyramid, 4.5 meters wide. In 2011, experts in ultrasound measured an electromagnetic frequency of 28 kilohertz at the top of the pyramid. Several researchers have verified this, and computer simulations reveal that, in its current state, the pyramid is generating its own electromagnetic signature, distinctly different than the Earth and its surroundings, its own field of energy. The pyramids in Bosnia appear to be the biggest ones we know of. Like the Giza Plateau in Egypt, there are 3 of them. They are aligned with true north, and yet the mainstream narrative denies their existence and ignores decades of research. The Bosnian pyramids are covered with dirt and vegetation that, according to the Federal Institute of Pedology, is over 12,000 years old. A web of internal tunnels and chambers were found using radar, and several have since been excavated. These tunnels appear to have been deliberately filled in over 4,000 years ago. Once excavated, strange things were found. The runic alphabet, which we are told originated in the 2nd century among Germanic peoples in Northern Europe and Scandinavia, was found carved into rocks inside the excavated tunnels. And several man-made ceramic megaliths were found, up to 8 tons in size, mounted securely in place directly above a water source. The one shown here has the same topography as the surface above. The Bosnian pyramids are denied. The Chinese pyramids are being hidden beneath new tree growth. And official authorities tell us the Egyptian pyramids are tombs for pharaohs, even though no mummy has ever been found in one. Christopher Dunn's 1998 book, The Giza Power Plant, theorizes that the Great Pyramid of Giza was an electric generator, and the purpose of the internal chambers and passages was to facilitate a chemical reaction that would produce its fuel, hydrogen gas. Studies have shown that this is quite possible. In the Great Pyramid of Khufu, there are 2 narrow shafts leading downwards into the Queen's Chamber. Within them, there are traces of hydrochloric acid and zinc chloride. Combining these two ingredients creates hydrogen, which would then flow upwards and pressurize the system. The inside of this system is lined with quartz-laden granite, and when pressure is applied to quartz, a piezoelectric charge is created. The upper level of the Great Pyramid was somehow structured to be tuned to an F-sharp chord, which is what the ancient Egyptians believed to be the harmonic resonance of planet Earth. And Christopher Dunn speculated that the 27 regularly spaced empty slots cut into the stone walls of the Grand Gallery were once filled with 27 banks of Helmholtz resonators that amplified the resonance inside the pressurized piezoelectric chamber. There is evidence that supports a hydrogen explosion inside of this chamber, and when robot cameras were fed into the narrow chutes to explore, at the top of each end, they found what appears to be a pair of corroded metal probes. Dunn recreated the chute and demonstrated how the two metal probes could be used to measure the chemical fluid levels within, which would be necessary to operate the system at optimal levels, whatever this system was. Recent SAR scans of the Giza Plateau show a massive underground complex that extends over 1 kilometer beneath the surface, connecting all 3 pyramids and the Sphinx. If this is some sort of ancient power plant, it is massive. Over the course of several years, Linda Moulton Howe has been investigating claims of an underground pyramid just west of Mount McKinley in Alaska. The peak of this underground black pyramid is reportedly 150 feet beneath the surface. It is as big as the Great Pyramid of Giza, and it generates enough energy to power all of Canada. Former intelligence officer Douglas Allen Muchler was stationed at Fort Richardson, Anchorage, Alaska, from 1989 to 1996, and claimed that he and his unit saw a local news broadcast about how geologists used China's underground nuclear weapons test to survey beneath the crust of the Earth, and found an underground pyramid as big as the Great Pyramid of Giza. He told Howe that this story was immediately censored following the live broadcast, and despite his high-level security clearance, he was denied access to any information on the subject. Bruce Pearson, the son of a World War II veteran, said his father told him that he was on board a classified delivery mission to the Dark Pyramid in Alaska and saw the elevator shafts and several aggressive-looking armed guards in unmarked black uniforms.
He assumed when he told my mom he was going to go on this flight with him that it was out to a dew line installation. But when he got in the chopper, the guy said, "No, this isn't dew line." He said, "This is some weird installation." And then he said, "Well, what do you mean weird?" He said, "Well, it's underground." And the co-pilot, he said, "Look, this is some generating facility or something that's underground." And he said, "Well, what's it, just a nuclear power plant?" And he said, "No, it's not nuclear. It's nothing we built. It's thousands of years old. It's cut stone like a pyramid. It's 150 feet below ground, and they can't figure out what the hell it is." He said, "Look, this is all off the record. I'm not even supposed to know this, but this is what I was told, that this thing will put out enough power to power the whole North Slope, the whole state of Alaska," and he said, "This thing could power the entire country of Canada. That's how much juice it puts out, and they don't have a clue where it came from, and it's underground."
According to the son of Western Electric engineer M. Johnson, in 1959, his father was recruited by the U.S. military to work on a top-secret assignment in Alaska, beneath an underground structure referred to as the Dark Pyramid.
My father had told me a lot of stories after his time in the war when he worked in Alaska, and apparently this was some top-secret thing. Sometimes he called it the Dark Pyramid, and sometimes he would call it the Black Pyramid. And what he had told me about it was that he was recruited to go out there. My mom always said she had to keep it a secret. She told everybody that he was overseas. He said that he flew to Alaska, and he landed in Unalakleet, and from Unalakleet, they were on a military bus with blacked-out windows. He wore a compass around his neck that my mom had given him, and he said that they headed from that point mostly east from Unalakleet, and they weren't supposed to know where they were going or anything. They had elevator shafts He said they were more like mining shafts, where they'd close the gate up in front of you and they'd drop you down. And once he was at the bottom, then they'd have the rooms down on the corners. Apparently, he always said they were on the corners of where this structure was. And he worked in the enclosed building. My father would always say when we'd complain about doing farm work and stuff that if we only knew what it was like working 700 feet under the ground, then we wouldn't be complaining. He knew it was pyramidal shape, and he didn't know if there was an interior to it or if it was made out of stone or whatever. All he knew was that they were using the angles of it to distribute energy. He said that the corners of the structures faced northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest. And another thing that was kind of funny is when he built this house out here in 1971, he built it, and it faces the same way. He made the driveway longer and turned his house crooked. From the time I was 12, I've been working on the farm, and he had me work on an aluminum structure that he created that he could convert like a low volt into a higher voltage. The structure was aluminum. We couldn't use steel, and he was always adamant about 48-degree angle from the angle of the pyramid structure that he built, from the corner to the point. But I know that he could take a 110-volt generator and could hook it up, and it would go through a series of wires to each of the corners of it, and he would put these converted electric motors at the end of them. And when he'd run the voltage through it, he could run enough to run our entire house, the farm, everything. He said he could multiply energy. He talked about Tesla. He felt there was a way to distribute energy that would be free. He compared Tesla's work to fractals, and he also said that a pyramid shape was the perfect structure to create fractals.
In Buddhist cosmology, Mount Meru is a mountain at the center of the universe. It is a four-sided structure, with each side aligned with the cardinal directions, just like many of the pyramids on Earth. The sun and the moon orbit Meru, and on a map, it appears to be in the general area of the alleged Black Pyramid in Alaska. It aligns with the pole star, which suggests a magnetic quality, like magnetic north, and it is associated with the flow of prana, which is what the scientific evidence is saying about the structure of the pyramid. With enough perseverance, perhaps mankind will solve this great mystery and learn the truth of our hidden past. In the age of social media censorship, questioning whether or not the Earth is a globe has been deemed harmful thought. But why is this? We seem to be conditioned to think that the issue has been scientifically settled. But this is not the case. Our most popular scientists recognize that the geocentric model, where the Earth is at the center of the universe, is observably accurate. Edwin Hubble and Stephen Hawking went as far as to say that they reject the geocentric model not based on scientific reasoning, but rather because they find the thought of being at the center of the universe to be emotionally disturbing. Physicist George Ellis stated that you cannot disprove the geocentric model, you can only exclude it on philosophical grounds. The Michelson-Morley experiment in the 1880s proved the Earth was stationary, and Albert Einstein claimed this was a serious embarrassment and intended to disprove it with his relativity theory, but later admitted that he had failed to do so. We are conditioned to think that the heliocentric model is scientifically superior to the geocentric model, but when we apply scientific reasoning, we discover that this is not true. Contrary to popular thought, the scientific community has disputed the heliocentric model for centuries, such as the Earth's curvature. According to the heliocentric Earth model, the Earth is 24,000 miles in circumference, and if one were standing at sea level, they should only be able to see less than 3 miles before the surface of the Earth curves out of view. But this has been proven to be false for centuries, from the Bedford Level experiments of 1838 to modern photography. This photograph of Chicago was taken almost 60 miles away from Grand Mere State Park in Michigan. On a spherical Earth, this would be impossible. Using the Pythagorean theorem and the current dimensions of the Earth, the top of the tallest skyscraper should be 900 feet below the observable horizon. Local news explained this anomaly by claiming the image was a mirage.
And what you're seeing here is a mirage. We typically would not be able to see this from the Lake Michigan shore. We talked about this last night. Conditions are right on the lake that we're actually seeing a mirage.
They claimed that somehow light refraction and perfect weather conditions are responsible for creating a photorealistic mirage of the Chicago skyline appearing to sit on the flat horizon from almost 60 miles away. Anomalies in the Earth's curvature can also be found in old lighthouses, able to be seen for several miles past what is possible on the heliocentric model, and weapons guidance systems that are capable of sighting targets that would only be possible on a flat plane. We are accustomed to observing ships disappearing over the curve, but with modern consumer cameras, we can observe that this seems to be an optical illusion based on light reflection and the laws of perspective. Many of us tend to think the planet is too big to observe curvature, but the empirical evidence tells us that either the surface of the Earth is a flat plane or the planet is at least 100 times bigger than we are told. Another very intriguing argument for flat earthers is Antarctica, the mysterious massive continent at our southern pole that nobody is allowed to explore. After sailing over 60,000 miles along the Antarctic coastline, Captain Cook was never able to complete the journey around the ice continent, which is supposed to be just under 12,000 miles around. Neither was James Clark Ross or the British ship Challenger. Nobody has ever successfully circumnavigated Antarctica. Many so-called flat earthers claim that these attempts failed because Antarctica is actually a massive ice barrier that surrounds the flat surface of the Earth. The azimuthal equidistant projection map, produced by the U.S. Geological Survey, has been used for centuries for the fact that all directions or azimuths are correct and all distances are at true scale. Studying this map, one can clearly see how man has been able to accurately circumnavigate the Earth on a flat plane model. And if it is in fact accurate, then it explains why after 60,000 miles, nobody has been able to completely circumnavigate Antarctica. Interestingly, this is also the map used by the United Nations. Admiral Richard Byrd, Medal of Honor winner, youngest admiral in the history of the Navy, and recipient of 3 ticker tape parades in his honor, led 4 expeditions to Antarctica. The 4th being a military operation known as Operation High Jump, with an aircraft carrier group, 4,700 men, 13 support ships, and 33 aircraft. Their stated mission was to establish the Antarctic research base Little America 4, but many believe the true nature of the secret mission was to root out the Nazis who arrived in 1939, claiming New Swabia and setting up a Nazi presence in Antarctica. In 1954, Admiral Richard Byrd spoke on TV of an area bigger than the United States with valuable resources and announced a future of international exploration.
Our very distinguished guest for this evening is Admiral Richard E. Byrd.
Strangely enough, there is left in the world today an area as big as the United States that's never been seen by a human being. And that's beyond the pole on the other side of the South Pole from Middle America. We've found enough of coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountains that's not covered with snow, enough to supply the whole world for quite a while. And I think it's quite astonishing that there should be an area as big as that unexplored.
That's a tremendous
So
challenge.
there's a lot of adventure left down at the bottom of the world.
Admiral, do you hope to see that?
I do. So I'm willing to say to you that there will be a number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year, to the bottom of the world, because the government has really become interested.
But this never happened. In 1957, Admiral Byrd died in his sleep of a heart ailment at the age of 68. And on December 1st, 1959, all 12 countries active in Antarctica signed a United Nations treaty that outlawed all public travel south of the 60th southern parallel. This was the same time that NASA was formed. The world's attention was pulled away from exploring Antarctica and directed firmly on the moon. In 1962, a series of high-altitude nuclear tests was carried out by the United States. It was called Operation Fishbowl, which has caught the curiosity of many flat Earth researchers because the flat Earth model shared by the ancients was one where we lived within a sphere, upon a flat surface, and surrounded by a massive dome, like a fishbowl, or The Truman Show. In 2012, The Secret Lost Diary of Admiral Richard E. Byrd was published, wherein Admiral Byrd allegedly claimed to enter a hollow Earth through a hole in the center of Antarctica and meet with an advanced alien civilization. The diary provides no evidence of being authentic, and many would suggest that it portrays the distinguished admiral as a crackpot and strange tales of Antarctica as fantasy. To this day, the public is strictly prohibited from traveling below the 60th southern parallel. Nobody has ever completely circumnavigated Antarctica, and airplanes are prohibited from flying over the icy continent. What are they hiding? There is now talk of investing trillions of dollars to explore Mars. Why not Antarctica? If sharing videos about flat Earth is harmful, why not put it all to rest by circumnavigating Antarctica, documenting everything, and prove that the Earth is a spinning globe?